Okay, so now we're going to go through the blood flow of the circulation. Sorry, it's just this is the first time I'm recording this way. Um, so we already talked about how there's a pulmonary system, which is pulmonary system is where the oxygen goes through the lungs. Here it is right here. So you have deoxygenated blood coming in to the right atrium, through the right ventricle, coming out, going to the lungs to be oxygenated, coming out oxygenated, going back into the heart, into your left atrium, down to your left ventricle. And then from there, it goes out of the aortic arch, and then it's going to go through your body. It's going to, cycle in all that oxygen, remove all the waste and the carbon dioxide, and go from the capillaries into the veins and then back into the right atrium. So that there is the pulmonary, going from the heart to the lungs, and the lungs oxygenated back into the heart to be circulated through systemic circulation into your body. And then we have another type. So those are two types. Then we have another type that's the hepatic. It's the hepatic system, and that's where things are going to go. The blood is going to circulate into your liver. So you've got this here. If you start from the heart, you know that the liver also needs oxygen. So you start from the heart, and you go in through the abdominal aorta. It's coming down into the hepatic artery and goes into the liver to deliver oxygen, and then it'll cycle back up through the veins into the inferior vena cava, and then it'll go back to your heart. And so that's one way that blood is cycling through the liver. The hepatic portal system, that is different. This is where the wastes and the nutrients and everything that is coming from your stomach, pancreas, and your large intestine, also your small intestine, those are going to drain into, depending on where they are in the digestive system. So if it's coming through the stomach, pancreas, and portions of the large intestine, it's going to go through either the splenic vein, or it's going to come out and drain into the superior mesenteric vein. They're going to join together at the hepatic portal vein, and from there they're going to go to processing already deoxygenated into the liver, and the liver is going to process it, and then recycle it back into the heart so that it can be reoxygenated through the pulmonary system circulation, which is through the lungs. So that goes, the hepatic circulation is taking the waste and the nutrients from the stomach, pancreas, the large intestine, and going into the liver before it gets delivered back into the heart. Then we have a different circulation, which is the brain circulation, which involves the circle of Willis. And so here you can see how, I think this one's a better picture. You can see here how you have these arteries coming up, supplying the blood to the brain, and you can see here the common carotid arteries. That's where it's starting. Then it's coming up the neck, and then going up. You can see these here are the external arteries. And then they start branching off depending on where they're going. Either they're going to the posterior or the anterior portion of your brain. But when they're coming off these major arteries going up into the brain, then they start cycling in. And you see the circle here? Everything in this circle that's being labeled, that is part of the circle of Willis. That means depending on where it is in the brain, it's all going to be able to cycle out through here. Cycle in, bringing oxygen to the brain, and then hit the capillaries in the brain, and then find a vein to exit. But the circle of Willis is just a number of arteries that create alternate routes in your brain, so that if there's a blockage here, it can come back and go through here. It's just one big old circle. And so you have this here, one hemisphere, the other hemisphere. You have these communicating arteries so that blood is able to pass from one side of the brain to the other side of the brain in case there's a blockage somewhere. And we had that question on your quiz, and they asked us, like, you start at the internal carotid artery, which is right here, and you're delivering oxygen. It's like, what is going to happen? Well, we got it right, and we got a little bit of it wrong. I went a little bit too far and said it was going through the eyes, and that was not even all necessary. So you just have the internal carotid artery. It was going up here, and the right answer was it's going to keep going until it hits the circle of Willis. So it's going in here, and it's making its rounds. Then it's going to find a capillary, drain out in the dural sinuses, out in through capillaries, and then coming back through a vein. And here's another picture that'll just show you how it's all connected. You have the aortic arch here. You have the three branches, which are the left subclavian, and you have the left common carotid artery, and then you have the right subclavian and the right carotid. And this is just another picture of showing how they come up into the brain, circle around, and then when it's ready to exit and get oxygenated, it will find a capillary, go through a sinus, a dural sinus in the brain, and then find a vein and circle back into the heart through the superior vena cava. I don't know if this is making any sense, but of course you can ask me if you need help with anything. Hopefully you can see my pointer. So I'm going to go back to this up here, okay, and show you how you're going to be able to read, these charts and the way I did it to solve those problems. So you have something similar in the book. I don't remember if that's where I pulled this from, but here we go. So I'm going to put them side by side just so that you'll be able to see how I got to the answers. So here, we'll start here. At my pointer, you have the heart, which is right in here, this area. You have the aortic arch right here. And they have three branches of where they're going to go. And depending on the question, wish I had the question in front of me, but there was one where it says you're starting at the left subclavian, which is right here. And it's asking you, how are you going to make your way down to the popliteal? Something like that. The first thing you have to notice when they're asking you a question is whether they're telling you you're in an artery or in a vein. Now, if you're in an artery, that means you are oxygenated and you still have not delivered your oxygen to whatever part you're going. So if you started at a vein, which is down here, that means you've already delivered your oxygen to the part in the body that's needed, and now you just need to make your way back up. Into the heart so that you can go to the lungs and get oxygenated again, cycled, so that you can come out and start, going through the system again.